Hello everybody! Today, I'm here with the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 3 Low, also known as the Mizuno Low Boy, and it's been a while since I've run in this shoe, and it's primarily because I've been struggling for the past month or so, but the last 2 weeks out of the last month and a half have actually been very nice, and I'm feeling ready to try this unstable, fast, bouncy racer yet again. My first impressions of the shoe were that it is extremely bouncy, perhaps the bounciest shoe I've ever run in, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, but that it is also very unstable compared to even a lot of super shoes. That's the impression that I have in my mind going into this run, but we're here to find out if that's still accurate, so let's go.
Get low! I'm telling you, fellas, get low!
Okay, first mile or so, couple observations. Wave Rebellion Pro 3 Low is definitely unstable, though it hasn't become so much of a problem yet because I'm running deliberately on flatter roads on these neighborhood streets. There's not a lot of traffic during the day, and so I could run at least a bit more freely in the center where it's flat. It's like this ridge line through all of the roads out here, and they're heavily cambered to either side, and the sidewalks are flat-ish, but they're also bumpy. Everything's cracked and broken out here. So whatever, it's been pretty good so far, stability-wise. I'm having a little bit of the lateral forefoot drift that I get in a lot of shoes on my right foot. This is every shoe for me, almost. I mean, not every shoe for sure, but it's a very common thread. But yeah, the foam is just as bouncy as I remember it. Definitely incentivizes you to go quickly. I mean, it's a carbon racing shoe. Although it's not really carbon, it's carbon plastic. And the more I reflect on it, not a huge fan of them using the word carbon to describe a carbon-infused plastic, because it just lends a little bit of marketing oomph to a plastic-plated trainer. In the same realm of thought, it is as rigid as any carbon-plated shoe, and it's bouncier than most, if not all. So I guess if those are your benchmarks, then this earns the right to be called a carbon-plated shoe. But technically it isn't. It's plastic with carbon infused into it. And it's like, well, isn't everything just made out of carbon? What's carbon about it? I don't know. I need to do more research on the material science side of these things, but yeah, it feels really good so far. I remember having some like vague lacing issues with this originally, and I can't remember exactly what the issue was, so there's probably no issue. I remember it being similar to the lacing issues I had in the Hoka Cielo X1, which, again, I don't exactly remember what the problem was in this. Yeah, I definitely overdid the first mile. I'm like out of breath already. That's what happens when it's fall and you're cold. You push the first mile too quickly to warm up. The first strange thing about this shoe to me is that despite having such a robust, completely full coverage outsole, it is not the grippiest. It's not like slippery necessarily, but it's for sure like slick on wet roads. just coupling that with the relative instability of the softer foam in here, and the geometry of the thing, it's not a great wet weather shoe. Fortunately, most of the roads are dry today. It's worth noting, though, like, I wouldn't want to run through an aid station in this necessarily. It might be fine, I don't know. It's not like slippery, like I'm saying, but when you add the instability to the like weird gripness of it, it creates a sensation. I'm reading a book called Solenoid right now, and I've talked about it briefly on the channel before, but it's been a while since I've said anything, and I just read this chapter last night on, I believe his name is George Hinton. So this book is fiction, but it's drawing on a lot of the author's lived experience, and so the fiction intertwines, like, it's like surrealist sort of sci-fi that blends into vividly real details about true reality. There's a dog up there, I'm not gonna risk it. But the chapter is about Hinton, right, who is a real historical figure in that he came up with the concept of a tesseract in the 1800s or something, like late 1800s, which a tesseract being, I am gonna butcher this, but I'm gonna try my best, a four-dimensional cube made of cubes. So the theory behind this is that a point in space is something that human beings can understand that would, when connected to another point, forge a line. So a point is one-dimensional space, a line is two-dimensional space, or a line is a zero, I don't know. I think a line is a zero-dimensional space, has no dimensionality. A line is two-dimensional, has 2 points, so, or like it's one dimension of just the line itself. And then there's a square, right, which adds another set of directionality, so it's two-dimensional, x and y axis basically. Then you have a cube, and that's three-dimensional, obviously, right? But in our world, we could see the voluminous third dimension, but if we suppose that in order to get a cube, you need however many squares it was, 6 squares, from the two-dimensional space, then you would also need lines from the one-dimensional space and points, or else the whole thing collapses and doesn't create any dimensionality. Well, what is the structure then that's holding three-dimensional space together? Obviously, science has progressed. We understand that now to be time. Hinton was in the pursuit through understanding the visualization of geometry, of multi-dimensional or hyperdimensional, rather, geometry, to create an understanding in his students of four-dimensional space-time, like to be able to visualize it. I mean, it's just such a complete mind-blower that despite being a three-dimensional object in a four-dimensional like relative layer of reality, he was trying to escape the fourth dimension and find higher dimensions through thought. And that's truly what everybody's trying to do, but maybe not in a literal sense. But for me, the way that I relate to it, and I feel like a lot of you could relate to it, is in society and in life, we're often trying to break out of our boxes, our various boxes. And the box that I'm personally currently trying to break out of is the need for employment. So I would love to start my own business through this YouTube enterprise, and maybe not even so far as starting a business, but I would rather be employed by myself than by an employer. And that's the current box that I'm trying to escape in the social fabric. Hinton, with his geometry and cubes, was trying to literally escape for the fourth dimensional constraint of reality. So trying to escape out of the current plane of existence to somewhere else, which I thought is just very mind-bending and not so easily done because it's impossible. But yeah, that was a crazy chapter. Solenoid by Carcerescu. This is an infectious shoe. The longer I've been running in it, the more enjoyment I've been getting out of it. It's flawed. For sure, it's flawed like any other shoe. And honestly, it's some of the best shoes out there that are the most flawed. Or like, that their flaws shine into relief how good the shoe is. For example, the Mega Blast, phenomenal shoe. The lace bite that I've experienced from it is minimal, and it's present sometimes, not all the time, especially lately, but the upper is not the best. It could have a wider toe box. There are flaws with it, but those flaws are so minor that the rest of the shoe can overcome it and can overshadow the flaws, showing just how good it is. And like, that's what makes an impressive shoe to me, something that's a little polarizing, a little imperfect, and might only work for a specific few people. I think that maybe that's not a popular take, but the alternative is really like neutered and neutralized, boring, lowest common denominator, like pop music. And lowest is not the right word, I don't want to use that word because it implies a negative, but the most common shoes that have the least, issue with them are often the ones that sell the best. And like, people putting the Rebel V4 into the conversation last year for best daily trainer, it's like, sure, that's the best daily trainer if you don't run. Like, it is great if you go for a run like once a week and don't put more than 70 miles on it. And like, yeah, that's why to me the best shoes, the ones that are specialty tools, are the best, because those are what push the bounds of what's available and what's possible in technology. And the same, I promise this all had a point, the same can be said for literature. Some of the best books that I've ever read, the best, are not tightly bow-tied narratives that are plot-driven and propel you through the reading experience at all times. No, quite the opposite. Solenoid has had several throughout the book that are a total slog, but those components are like the author working through their demons and reiterating some points that could have been left on the editing floor. Sure, if you wanted a tight, perfectly written, neat little bow of a book. But in my experience as a reader and as a runner, the neatly packaged things that are completely flawless for everybody are often just average at best. That's why I've been enjoying Solenoid so much, is that it soars so high, and it also sucks at points to get through. And part of that could be I'm out of practice as a reader, and I could use more time with some slightly easier books. Not that Solenoid's particularly hard, but some parts of it are. And I think it's by design. And I also think that, like, literature that deliberately antagonizes the reader can serve a purpose to get the reader feeling an emotion and to question their basic precepts of reality. And for sure this book has done that for me. Just like there is no perfect book, there is no perfect shoe, but it is in our imperfections that humanity can recognize itself and create beauty. It's like in chess, computers have long since solved the game. They're way better than humans. There is a right move to make in any given position. And yet, people don't care about when chess engines play. They care about when Magnus Carlsen plays. They care about when Gukesh plays. And the reason for that is the mistakes that we make along the way, or the character that we add to our running, to our writing, to our acts of creation. That is where the beauty of the human experience lies. As you might be able to see, I'm quite wet. The last, I kid you not, 3 minutes of the run was just a downpour of sleet rain, very cold, very wet. I know, you're very cute. So I'm back inside in the studio, giving you a quick recap of how it went. How did it go, Hawk? It was really fast. I just blasted through that run. My heart rate was super high. I'm not really sure why that was. But yeah, I was compelled by the Mizuno Lowboy to go really quickly on the end of the run. I mean, even the entire run was at a pretty elevated pace. And yeah, I mean, I love that shoe. I forgot how much I really enjoyed it, and it's almost like all of the things that I said the first time I reviewed it still stand. Mainly things like the slightly additional weight of like 219 grams, I believe, does not present itself on foot at all. It's one of, if not the bounciest super shoes on the market. There's instability, yeah. It's an imperfect shoe. What are you gonna do? You can't win them all. Isn't that right, Hawk? Yes. All right, stay in motion.